This Valentine's Day, get a Heart Baker pizza from Papa Murphy's. You complete us. And we mean that literally. With Take and Bake, we prepare it, you make it yours. So make us yours today. Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
Little breaking news this morning from Pete Thamel. We talked about this exact thing yesterday.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to go back. The efforts of Oklahoma and Texas to leave the Big 12 a year early and join the SEC in 2024 have stalled, and it is unlikely to happen, according to Pete Thamel at ESPN. And this, I'm telling you, this Big 12 situation, I think Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, is absolutely crushing this. I think he is. I would not allow Texas and Oklahoma to leave early. I would not. It costs you money, frankly. It costs you viewers. I don't know why you would do that. I think this is exactly the right thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just because they want to leave early doesn't mean that they should be able to leave early. You know, I mean, it's the reality of the situation is business. Like, again, you know, I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over again this morning. Like, it's business. It's a contract that says, hey, you're obligated to be in the Big 12 till a certain time and date. And until that point comes, you're going to be in the Big 12. And we're going to get that TV money. And we're going to get everything that comes with that. We're going to benefit. And then once you're gone, you're gone. It's fine. But you notice what Yormark has done. And again, for all my Pac-12 homers and all my Pac-12 people, I'd encourage you to take notice of this. He knows they're leaving, right?
Was that a Jazz reference to take note?
Ryan Smith, Bud, my guy, I love you. I really do. All sincerity. I love what you've done for the organization. Texas and Oklahoma, I mean Jordan Clarkson, are leaving. And you know, you might want to get your value out of that situation.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same concept. And so isn't it amazing how it works? Like, again, it's not, dude, sports are very simple in a lot of ways. It's a piece of paper that says Jordan Clarkson's got a player option for 23-24.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he going to opt in? He said he's not. Great. Let's trade him. Oh, Texas and Oklahoma have a contract that say that they're leaving at X day, at X time, and they're heading to the SEC and they want to leave early. Yeah, sorry, guys. Sorry, not our problem.
That's not what's best for us.
Yeah, you signed a contract. Yeah. You signed a commitment. That's not what's best for the conference.
So Pete Thamel at ESPN is reporting this morning that Oklahoma and Texas will not leave the Big 12 early, and that they will be in the Big 12 for the next 2 years. That's a big, big deal, man.
Yeah.
That is a big, big deal. Because it's a lot more money. And frankly, the issue is, how would you make the Big 12, ESPN, and Fox whole if you evacuate to the SEC a year early? That's the biggest question. So this is a really interesting move, especially with all this talk about expansion and with the Pac-12 being where they are, and trying to figure themselves out. And again, I think the longer we go on without a Pac-12 TV deal, and the longer that we go on with Oregon, Washington, and the Arizona schools not on board with a streaming deal as their tier one, with essentially, let's call it what it is, with Amazon Prime Sports as their tier one distribution partner. So all the biggest games are on Amazon Prime Sports.
Yeah.
We were told directly by TV industry sources that Oregon, Washington, and the Arizona schools are not on board with that. And it is going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. And if the Big 12 does eventually invite Gonzaga, I think you are going to be in a very precarious position if you are the Pac-12.
Gonzaga.
And again, I'll just go back to what we said yesterday real quick. I think the Pac-12 needs to be all in on inviting San Diego State. I think it's the only lifeline they have. Truly. If you are trying to keep this conference together and you already have cracks in the facade and unity is a problem, if you don't add San Diego State, I don't see how you can placate Oregon and Washington. And if you don't add San Diego State, I don't know how you keep it. It seems to me that Arizona State is one of the loudest dissenters in the Pac-10 right now, Pac-12.
Yeah.
I'm going to trip over that until it is what it is.
We want to call it the Pac-81.2.
Until the Pac-10 has resolution, I don't see any way that they're going to have any kind of unity. And I don't see any way that if they don't add San Diego State, I think they are in real trouble here.
Well, I think in at a minimum, I think it's like until the Pac-10 has vision forward. Hey, like what are we going to look like? I mean, because that's the problem here. You look at, again, and I know, go back and listen yesterday. We've explained this a bunch of times, but when you lose a market like Southern California and you're essentially pushed up into the Pacific Northwest, and you compile that with, hey, Oregon and Washington, philosophically are not aligned on TV distribution, meaning they're not aligned on streaming being your tier 1 level distribution. Okay, well, how do you move forward then? You know what I mean? And we get comments all the time on the channel from the Pac-12 homers that'll be like, oh, well, San Diego State has no business being a P5 and has no business being in our conference, and we don't need them, and we're the Pac-10. And it's like, yeah, you are, but you don't have SC and UCLA anymore. And that's a big difference, from like the Pete Carroll days or from before that, or you know what I mean? Like that's a big difference. You don't have that ability to create that revenue the same way. And so then you realize, all right, the Big Ten took our 2 major brands in the conference, 2 of our major brands, even though UCLA hasn't been great at football in the big picture, they're still a big time brand. And so now
UCLA is a basketball brand. It just is what it is.
Yeah, like they are. But I think at least with UCLA, you still have the option of football. Even though they're not great every single year, you still have football as an option. And so to me, the point just is that I don't even think it's just the streaming thing or it's just the fact that those 2 schools went to the Big Ten. It's all of it combined that basically adds up to, hey, we aren't moving forward. We're just not. What direction are we going here? That's the problem.
But I think, and here's the tweet from ESPN's Pete Thamel, Texas and Oklahoma will join the SEC in 2025 as parties couldn't come to terms amid a complex negotiation between the 2 schools, 2 networks, and the Big 12. And I think we've been pretty aware that this was a thing.
Yeah.
By the way, as we told you, this is the reason that the Big 12 schedule was delayed for so long, because I think Texas and Oklahoma were on their way out the door. And I think that the Big 12 said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to take the money that we have coming to us, and you're going to sit here and you're going to wait.
And that's how I look at it.
I think that's exactly what they should have done, because it keeps stability in the league. It allows you at this point to be at 16 teams for 2 years. And I think it allows you to have a little bit of time to get yourself into, I think, Gonzaga at a minimum. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what's after Gonzaga? Because you're not just going to add basketball-only Gonzaga. I think you're going to go and you are probably going to get after, I would think San Diego State is a chip right now.
Well, it's just
without
obvious.
question.
Like the only reason, and this is what I think Pac-12 people don't get. The people who say, oh, we're the Pac-12, we're the greatest thing ever. This is what I think that sect of college football fan doesn't get. It doesn't matter that the name is San Diego State. I don't care that it's San Diego State, with all due respect to my guy Glenn. Right? Like, I don't care that it's San Diego State. The reality is, geographically speaking, it's San Diego State. You have to have Southern California on some level in your conference. And that's it. I mean, if it was, the name quite literally doesn't matter. It's all about the fact that they're the last remaining opportunity in Southern California for your conference. That's quite literally it. And I think when we take a step back and we look at we look at this from a nationwide perspective, Brett Yormark has said time and time again, hey, we want to push west. We want to expand west. We want to grow our footprint west. We want to keep going that direction. So when I look at what's happening in the Pac, and I look at what Prime's doing at Colorado, and what Mark Harlan's not doing at Utah, and what Oregon and Washington are doing, and what they have said, and the kind of money that, Mr. Nike, Phil Knight has, it just adds up. It's a natural fit. And I'm a big believer that in college football specifically, that when things happen, usually it's because they're good fits. Typically, you don't get things that are like forced, like, square peg in a round hole type thing. That usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, I this whole thing with the Pac-12 and the Big 12 is fascinating, and I think it is one of the biggest stories in sports. And I think it is going to have a transformative impact on college football.
Yes.
Because if the Pac-12 disintegrates, and I don't know that it ever goes away totally as a league, but if it shrinks, there's too much money on the table to be made by Oregon and Washington to sit there and just exist. I think that you have to go in a different direction. And again, everybody asking, well, why haven't we seen a Pac-12 TV deal? Because you're not able to get, and we reported it.
Yeah,
it's $25 million a year per school right now. That's what they're at.
Can you believe that? Just, I'm going to cut in, but like that's incredible.
It is what it is, man, and it's not something that you can exist on.
Yeah,
$25 million a year per school at $250 million is a death sentence. It's not something that is sustainable. And if you are again, San Diego State, I think you now are a very valuable chip. But the problem is, and I know we've talked about this week, but with this new story, I think it's huge. San Diego State is in a position where they can come into the Pac-12 and say, we're not going to take a lesser share. We're not going to take a lesser share. That's the leverage that San Diego State is going to exert over the Big 12 and the Pac-12. They're going to say, hey, you want me to come to the Big 12? Okay, well, you know what? The Pac-12's offering us a full share right now. Are you going to offer us a full share? That's where the rubber's going to meet the road, right? And if you look at where San Diego State is, the issue is not the size of the market or the people that are watching TV. We were told directly by a TV source in the know that the issue is the programming that ABC and ESPN will not be able to offer their local affiliates is just as big as how big the market size is. Because if you're ABC, if you're ABC 7 in Los Angeles, you are not going to have USC football on your television. You are now no longer going to have UCLA football, UCLA basketball, USC football and basketball on your TV station. That's now going to your direct competitor at Channel 4 NBC in Los Angeles. That's a big, big deal.
And I don't think anybody thought about that when the USC thing came down. Even before the Board of Regents met on UCLA and that portion was solidified, I don't think anyone thought about, it's not just that USC is quote, leaving for the Big Ten, right? Basically changing some paperwork and painting the field a different color. No, that's not just what it is.
Yeah.
It's this whole dynamic of local impact that is really going to change the landscape. And that was, for me anyway, that was kind of a mind-blowing perspective, because I was like, wow, like now you're talking about impacting local affiliates, like local marketplace, local community. When you get down to that level, like I think you have more impact than you think.
And I also think that the other thing that goes unspoken here is Pac-12 After Dark is dead.
Yeah.
That's now Big Ten After Dark, because you get Peacock and NBC with that weekly late window that you and I both know is going to feature USC and UCLA.
Yes.
That's absolutely a thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people point to Oregon and Washington as teams that could bolster Big Ten After Dark. And I think it's brilliant. But one other thing before we get back to the Jazz here on the Monty Show, one other thing you better remember, Big Ten currently doesn't have a commissioner.
Yeah.
And there are a whole lot of cooks in the stew in the Big Ten right now. Who is going to lead all of those people in the Big Ten? Because Kevin Warren's going to the Chicago Bears to be president.
And he was a damn good commissioner.
So who's going to take that role?
Yeah.
And I think Gene Smith at Ohio State is a name you should watch. And my guess is if Gene Smith at Ohio State becomes a commissioner, it makes it a much steeper climb for Washington and Oregon to get into the Big Ten. Because I think that Gene Smith is one of those guys who wants to close ranks. We are what we are. Let's go and do what we do. And I don't think that he's that interested in competing with the SEC or becoming the biggest conference. I think it is a very, very different conversation.
Do you see how damaging that is to brands like Oregon or brands like Washington?
But you know what it is? Instead of damaging, I think it's incredibly opportunistic. It creates an incredible opportunity for the Big 12.
Yeah.
Because Oregon and Washington, those are brands that want to go and own things. They don't want to go to a conference and just become a has-been. And if it's the Pac-10 and you don't get San Diego State and you don't get Gonzaga, you're just existing. You are not thriving. You are just surviving.
Yeah.
And at that point, to me, Oregon and Washington why would they sign a grant of rights? Because, again, remember what the process is here. It isn't, hey, the conference says, okay, I'm going out to negotiation. Before I do that, everybody sign your grant of rights now.
Hey, guys.
No, that's not the way this works. The conference goes and negotiates a TV deal. Then they bring that deal to the presidents.
Hey, guys.
And the presidents then sign their grant of rights and say, hey, yes, Oregon, Washington, and the Arizona schools, according to TV industry sources, are not willing to sign their grant of rights for 7 years.
Yeah.
With Amazon as their tier 1 distributor.
Because it's garbage.
I mean,
and how could you blame them? How could you blame them, right? Because again, you're and this is why I love this conversation. And I know everyone probably wants to talk Jazz, but I love this topic because you have this whole this conversation about philosophy on, hey, where should our product be? I love this conversation because this whole MLS Apple TV thing has been a rager this week. People saying, "Oh, well, it's free to download the app and the first week is free." Yeah, but everybody does that. DirecTV does that. Everybody, YouTube TV does that. Dude, I've watched. You want to know how resourceful I am? I have in the past when we were on a trip and I wanted to watch a certain game. I can't remember what it was. I got a YouTube TV membership for a day and a half that cost me nothing and then canceled it, right? That's what people do. That's what these big box brands are offering you. Hey, try us out. So this MLS thing on Apple TV is akin to the Pac-12 TV deal in the sense that Apple TV is not something I'm going to add to watch MLS. I'm just not doing it. And a lot of the complaint has been, wait a minute, there's no local broadcaster on Apple TV for MLS. We're not hearing the names that we all know and love, the voice that maybe I grew up in the state of Utah listening to Real on. I'm not going to hear that. No,
that David James will not be the voice of RSL on television is a huge problem.
So I look at that and I say, okay, wait a minute. It's no surprise that the Pac-12 doesn't have a TV deal because all the presidents, and we know it's Oregon and Washington, the Arizona school specifically, but the reality is every single president in that conference doesn't agree on philosophy. They don't agree, hey, TV's best or Amazon's best or this one thing is best. Because all you need here, if you're George Kliavkoff, is for the conference to take a direction. Whether, like George Kliavkoff, at the end of the day, doesn't give a damn if it's Amazon or TV or whatever. His job is to get everybody on the bus moving in the same direction. And right now, from what it seems and from what we've been told, they're not even close to that. And the window is closing here. That's why I'm saying, that's why this whole Big Ten getting a new commissioner that wants to close ranks, that's why the Big 12, it puts the Big 12 in such a strong position. And all the while, we all can't forget the SEC is just chilling and the ACC is still Clemson and everybody else. Yeah. So that's college football for you.
Yep. Blake Phillips gives us a $5 tip to say the Pac-12 offer is slow death. How Arizona and U of U or any team have not jumped ship is beyond me. The optics do not look good as deserters, but the writing is on the wall. I think, Blake, thank you for the $5 tip, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I think there is no doubt in my mind that the University of Washington and the University of Oregon have tried to leave the conference. They wanted to join the Big Ten, but that door was closed. With UCLA and USC, I think there was a very small window in time for Oregon and Washington to join the Big Ten, and they chose not to do that, and now the window's closed. And I think it's going to take some time because nobody in the Big Ten wants to give up money to add those two schools.
Yeah.
And that's number one. Number two, dude, I think when you look at where teams like Oregon and Washington are a fit, that's a very small place. Like you're not going to the SEC. You're not going to the ACC. You're not, I mean, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Where are you going to go? Can you really tell me that Seattle, Washington is a fit in Stillwater, Oklahoma? Can you really tell me that the Big 12 in Dallas, Texas is a fit for Seattle, Washington? That feels like an awkward fit philosophically. I don't, and I know that everybody says, well, it's all money and I think that you have to placate your donors and your alumnus.
Yeah.
And I think in the Big Ten, you could have done that if you're Oregon and Washington. I don't believe you can do that in the Big 12. Yeah. And I know everybody wants, hey, Oregon and Washington, they're going to bail. Put them in the Big 12. It's not it. I don't believe that culturally they are a fit.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't buy that.
Well, and I think, if you remember the conversation we had, I don't know, 2 months ago about the BYU, donor situation. And we talked about Buddy who makes widgets and, allowing his competitor to come in and that whole thing. Like, donors are powerful. Donors, people who contribute to college football programs are powerful.
You put names on buildings, you have sway and influence.
So this idea that they're not being considered is asinine because, again, what really is the message being sent to like Oregon and Washington? The money's drying up, dude. The money's drying up. You're sitting here talking about $25 million a year at most in your current TV deal that you're being asked to sign. You're then being told that basically the Big Ten's not really an option now because Kevin Warren's not there anymore. And they're trying to bring in a new commissioner, and it's likely, again, not facts, but likely, that, hey, this new commissioner is going to want to close ranks. The SEC's not open for business, and even if it was, I don't think you're a fit because you're on the West Coast and they're an East Coast league, basically. And the ACC is the ACC. Nobody wants to go to the ACC. You want to talk about a grant of rights that has you locked in for life? That thing has you locked in for life. I want to say the number. I have to go and look it up. It's some asinine number.
Like $50 million to get out.
Like you got to pay some ridiculous number to get out. So the reality is the Big 12 is your final hope. And the reality is Brett Yormark is driving the bus right now.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a really interesting deal. And again, if you're just tuning in, breaking news out of the Big 12, presented by our friends at Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com. Find any of their 5 Utah locations in Logan, Layton, Lehigh, St. George, and of course our good friends in Murray on State Street. Barbecue Pit Stop, the best barbecue equipment in the business. The breaking news comes from Pete Thamel at ESPN. Who says Texas and Oklahoma will join the SEC in 2025 as parties couldn't come to terms amid a complex negotiation between 2 schools, 2 networks in the Big 12. So for the next 2 seasons, Texas and Oklahoma are staying in the Big 12. And that is a big, big deal in the college football world. I think this is a very important story. I would encourage you to really pay close attention to that. Let's see. PLL Superfan Forever. I subscribe to Peach to watch Premier League soccer, but I won't be getting Apple TV for MLS. I think this MLS deal is a big, big deal. It is not free, and I want people to understand this. I have spent a lot of time asking people about this. MLS soccer on Apple TV is not free. It is $14.99 a month or $99 a year. And the first week will be free, just like it is in Major League Baseball, the NBA, the Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
MLS is going to give you a trial period for free, and then you will have to subscribe. And I think that it is going to be really interesting to see how many fans do not watch MLS soccer this year.
Yeah.
Because you're not probably going to lose the diehards. You're probably not going to lose the diehards. You're going to lose the casual. You're going to lose people like me who go to 3 matches a year at Rio Tinto.
Uh-huh.
You're going to lose a guy like me who will tune into the second half of an RSL match with David James, and I'm going to enjoy that, and I'm going to watch that, but I'm not paying a penny to watch MLS soccer. I'm just not. I am a guy who already believes that if I'm not watching it, frankly, and Mrs. Monty and I have had this conversation on this show, if I'm not at a match, I'm not locked in.
Yeah.
But if you put Chelsea Football Club on my TV, I'm locked in.
Why do you think that is?
Because the game is better. The MLS, there's no way to get away from the fact that MLS soccer is minor league soccer. Uh-huh. It is minor league soccer. There's no other way to look at it. If you look at even Serie A, the Italian soccer league, or League One in France, or Bundesliga, whoever you want to point to.
Yeah.
Those leagues are all more quality soccer than MLS.
Mm-hmm.
It's slow. There's not things like first touches, like when you make a long pass and the ball's coming into a guy and it hits his foot and bounces 10 feet away. That doesn't happen in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Because the player is better. The quality of the pass is better. The goalkeeping is better, which is a huge deal. The game is just slower.
Yeah.
It is, and it's akin to basketball. Instead of running the ball up to the floor, you're just walking it up the floor. That's all you're doing is slow, plodding, methodical, not special football. And I'm not here for that. But if it's on TV and it's David James, that's Real Salt Lake to me. That's what I need to hear. If I'm not getting Dunny and James and I don't listen to MLS on the radio. Bill Riley, with all due respect, I love the guy on football. I'm not listening to Real on the radio.
Yeah.
And I'm not paying $14.99 a month to watch it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because I actually enjoy going to matches. But I only go to 2 or 3 a year.
Well, but that's the minor league or the smaller town feel, right? Hey, it's a great time to go to a soccer match. There's just no denying it. It's an awesome experience, but it's not something that you want to pay for. And again, it's this philosophy around streaming and does that actually work?
And you know what else I think is going to happen? I'm glad you said that. You know what else is going to happen? I don't think you're going to travel announcers anymore. I think what you're going to see is you're going to have, because you don't have local guys, I'm going to be interested to see the quality of their broadcast as well. You don't have local guys. So what do you get? You get a dude in a studio who's calling a game for the Timbers from Florida. And I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. You miss the nuancical stuff. Like, hey, Cam Rising's not going to be your starting quarterback at Washington State. Well, we didn't know that because our announcers weren't there. Right? That's the stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just telling you, Real Salt Lake is David James to me. I don't get David James, I'm not watching Real. I'm just not. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm not trying to be Mr. Negative about it, but it is. MLS is already, what's it compare? MLS is already G League basketball compared to the I think that's probably the best analogy that I can put in my mind. MLS compared to Premier League. Premier League's the NBA, MLS is the G League. I'm not paying for that. And if I don't get David James in Dunny, I'm not watching it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge, you took away the local flavor.
Yeah.
You took that away. Why am I going to pay attention to that? I'm not. Football 50-10 of the hour, every hour on the Monty Show. We bring you the biggest stories in football. And this morning, I think it is this story with Texas and Oklahoma not leaving the Big 12 early for the next 2 seasons, 2023, 24, and 2024. You're going to be there, man. You're the 2023, 2024 seasons. Oklahoma and Texas are going to be in the Big 12. And then they will go and join the SEC.
Yeah.
So that's a big story this morning. I also think this Joe Mixon story for Cincinnati, have you guys been following this? Joe Mixon has a warrant out for his arrest, the running back of the Bengals, because he pointed a gun at a person and told that person they should be popped in the face.
Yeah.
And he did this the day before the Bengals-Bills division playoff game. how is that even possible?
No idea.
How's that possible? January 21st, allegedly, Joe Mixon pointed a gun in somebody's face and said, you should be popped in the face. And then the next day played an NFL football game.
Yeah.
That's craziness. That's absolute craziness. There's a warrant out for Joe Mixon. The NFL and the Cincinnati Bengals say they are aware and they are monitoring it. Joe Mixon's attorney says that he believes 100% these charges will be dropped.
Yeah.
To which I say I'm not necessarily on board with that.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it speaks to, some guys in the NFL, it's just not number one for them. They do whatever the hell they want. And again, we don't know the actual story. We don't know the circumstances. We haven't seen a video. You know what I mean? So, a lot of this is just hearsay, hey, this is what happened type deal.
Yeah.
And I'm always cognizant of that when it comes to NFL issues, because if there's no tape, it never happened, in my opinion, when it comes to the league. You got to have tape or it didn't happen. And to me, his attorney can say whatever the hell he wants about getting charges dropped. But the reality is there's a warrant out for your arrest, and I don't see that going anywhere. So, I just hope that Joe Mixon gets this handled.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's get some of your thoughts in here on I'm open for Big 12. I'm absolutely open for Oklahoma and Texas. In comments, I think that's a big deal. And by the way, are you going to subscribe to MLS Soccer on Apple TV? I think that's absolutely a conversation. Let's see. Tanner Plummer, who's a member of the Showgrum. MLS is the best league in the U.S., but yes, compared to the rest of the world, it's basically a G League. It's tough for me to watch, man.
Yeah.
Jeremy Severe says, I can Premier League game for $5 with Paramount Plus. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Greg Romano says, by the way, despite last night, Utah is going to the tournament. The Big 12 doesn't need Gonzaga when it can have both Utah basketball and football. Utah is not interested in joining the Big 12. They've made that painfully obvious. They have said that repeatedly. So you can't pine over a school that doesn't want to be there. Tanner says, David, I'm going to miss David James and Dunny. Me too. I agree with that. Brad Butler says, Dunseth will be on Apple TV broadcast. He will. Okay, cool. NY Monty fan says, no one knows enough about soccer in the U.S. to listen to it on the radio. I agree. I just don't know, when does MLS become a thing? Because it's not a thing. I got news for you. It's not a thing. And this is the NHL. The NHL left ESPN years ago. And nobody knew where to find them. Nobody knows where the NHL network is. Nobody knew where to find NHL hockey on TV. Nobody knew. And by the way, based on the ratings, nobody knows it's on ESPN and TNT either. Because their ratings are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the TNT thing to me was an awkward fit for hockey. ESPN hockey is a natural fit. I think hockey on ESPN is
it feels right.
It's a throwback. It's an absolute fit. And again, the trouble is, and this plays right into the Pac-12 Amazon streaming thing, this MLS thing. The trouble is that there are more people in the world who are just casual sports fans who will watch it if they come upon it, versus the person who's hunting for it, And
yes.
So to me, with hockey, this market doesn't have an NHL team, and everyone's pining over it, and everyone thought, oh, well, Ryan Smith is going to bring one to the Delta Center, after they did that one game with the Kings or whatever it was, I think, a couple months ago. Everyone thought, oh, this is a sign of things to come. And the problem for, MLS, NHL is your second tier. People don't have to work hard to find the NFL.
But, by the way, how many people even knew that game was at Vivint Arena?
Yeah, I didn't. I happened upon it.
How many people even knew that game was in town?
And I'm an NHL fan.
That's the crazy thing. Not crazy is Papa Murphy's Pizza. It's Friday night, and that means Papa Murphy's Pizza in my house. We'll get the regular crust barbecue sauce, the traditional regular crust with the barbecue sauce. I'm probably still going to stick and stay extra mushroom and onion. That's my groove right now. I'm trying to eat less meat, and I love that extra mushroom and onion. And, of course, I'm going to eat meat with the marinara meatball, because I'm telling you, the marinara meatball, all Italian beef meatballs, dude, if you go to Papa Murphy's and you don't get the marinara meatball, you're missing out.
At Papa Murphy's, we do more than just pizza. We do meatballs and marinara.
Papa Murphy's does meatballs?
Oh, I think you mean I do the meatballs and marinara?
And how do you do it, Dad?
How do I do it? How do I do it?
Well, we do it with savory ground beef
Covered in tangy marinara. That's how, honey.
At Papa Murphy's, we make great pizza.
And don't forget the meatballs.
Order now at papamurphys.com.
Yeah, and when you do order, download the Papa Murphy's mobile app. I think it's the easiest way to order Papa Murphy's pizza because it's so simple. You can order it ahead of time, which, again, I love it. You order your stuff at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. You can put it for a 5:30 pickup, and you can count on it being on the to-go rack at 5:30. And which I absolutely love, and I appreciate that. Papa Murphy's easy to deal with. Use the promo code Monty25 to get 25% off your purchase of $25 or more at Papa Murphy's. What a first hour.
Yeah.
James Knight says it's a first for the show. Only one comment read out in the first hour. And I'm sorry about that. We had, we were in the Jazz trade stuff, and then this news with Oklahoma and Texas broke, and I think it's a huge story. Is it lost on anybody? Because it's certainly not lost on me. The TV game in sports is changing dramatically right before our eyes.
Yeah.
Like this MLS thing, and I know it's only MLS, and I know that MLS is not a thing in the U.S. I get it. But it is a professional sport, and they are all in on streaming. And I know I get crushed on Twitter every time I say this.
Uh-huh.
I fart on Twitter and I get crushed on Twitter because that's what Twitter is.
It is, yes.
But I believe the Pac-12 should go all in. I would put all of my football games on Amazon. I would. And I know that seems crazy, and people are going to say that not enough people will watch. Are enough people watching now? You don't have a TV deal now. Honestly, you don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's cool you get Pac-12 after dark. Totally get that. But I'm telling you, go all in with Amazon right now. Yeah. Do it. Because if you do that, you are going to be the trendsetter. You are going to be the first to really have the best technology in streaming. Because what Amazon's told you by their actions with the NFL, every week in the NFL, they got better. Their quality went up. Amazon has done one thing really well on their NFL stuff. They haven't made the same mistake twice. And I think when you look at Amazon as a tech company, they're going to get it right. They generally do not do things half-assed. So I would tell you, if you're the Pac-10, go all in on Amazon.
Yeah.
And go all in on streaming. Because what does it do? It delivers you right to their phone. Because what is Amazon doing? We've talked about it on the show. They are developing an Amazon Prime Sports app for all of their sports programming. So you're going to be able to download an app. You're going to be able to say, oh, man, dude, look at Oregon and Washington are in the fourth quarter. And you're going to be able to put it on an app on your phone and watch it just like that.
Yep.
I'm telling you, it is the right thing to do if you're the Pac-12, because you're going to be on the edge of technology. You are in the heart of Silicon Valley. You are going to be able to in the long run, I think you are going to make more money because you went all in on streaming. I think you are going to be a more widely viewed product because you are on streaming and you are partnered with Amazon. You're going to bite the bullet in the near term, and you are going to make more money in the long term.
Well, and one of these platforms is going to become the king, right? One of these platforms, like I would tell you YouTube TV is the king right now, but one of these platforms is going to become the unanimous go-to spot for,
but see, Jake, I just don't think that Amazon is going to let you down.
Well,
I look at the all this talk about like Hulu and Netflix. To hell with that.
Yeah.
You've got Amazon, who's already doing business with the NFL, who's already got the king of sports in the National Football League. They're not going to let you down, because who loses if Amazon lets the Pac-12 down? Who loses? Amazon does, because Amazon won't be able to make money. If it's a crappy product, they won't be able to sell it. Right. You won't have people watching. But I don't believe in saying, oh, man, what if? I believe in saying, hey, what if we go to Amazon and we become trendsetters? And what if we go to Amazon and we make a truckload of money? Why is the Pac-10, 12, whatever the F we're going to call it, so unwilling to take risks when you're in the hole? Forget it. You're not in the hole. You fell in the pot, bro.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Like, you owe Comcast $50 million. What do you possibly have to lose? What do you have to lose? That's my question.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you go to Amazon and you say we're all in, you get it all, they will pay more for that. Because right now, If our sources are correct, and the guys we've talked to, again, I know you guys hate when we say it, but we've been pretty nails on this Pac-12 TV story, right? I mean, just about everybody confirms the stuff we talk about.
Right.
If you're at $25 million on a 7-year deal,
you're the weakest of the weak.
You're irrelevant. You're irrelevant.
Yeah.
Let's say, oh my God, let's say, Monty, you're a hack. You don't know what you're talking about. Trust me, bro. Okay, let's say you get to $30 million. You're not irrelevant, but you're the lowest paid conference in all of college athletics.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? And you're not getting a $30 million, not the way it's currently constructed, by the way. But if you go all in on Amazon, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
I think you have nothing to lose. Yeah. I truly believe you have nothing to lose. San Diego State, what's up, Glenn? Good morning. I'm not comfortable with San Diego State to the Pac. The Big 12 is where I want the university to align. And I think a lot of alumnus are with you on that. Yeah. I think a lot of people want San Diego State in the Big 12 because, again, the Big 12, call me crazy, the Big 12 has trumped the Pac-10 time and time and time again. Everybody was like, oh, God, they panicked and went out to market early and they made less money. The Big 12, in my opinion, is going to make more money in the long term. And why is that? Because they're going to add more membership.
Yeah.
They're going to get more money from their TV partners, regardless of the level of that membership. Gonzaga basketball is a perfect example. Fox is going to pay more for the Big 12 basketball package, their percentage of it, if you get Gonzaga basketball.
Well, I mean, what did the Big 12 really do? What did they really do? Like, yeah, they went out to market early. Yeah, they got a TV deal done. But what did they really do?
They cut the legs out from the Pac-12 to get a TV deal.
They tightened the stranglehold around that neck of the Pac. That's what they did. You went out. You had what nobody talks about with this, and then we'll read your comments. I know you guys want comments, but what nobody talks about is Brett Yormark had the foresight, the vision ahead to say, okay, let me pause and look at the landscape in college football. Brett Yormark knew 6 months ago Kevin Warren was going to leave the Big Ten. He knew. You're telling me he didn't know? He knew. So what did he say? Well, he said, okay, I need to go around to all the schools and form relationships with all these ADs and presidents and all these people that run these schools. Because what I need them to do is believe in me as a commissioner. I need them to believe that when I go out and try to get their grant of rights sold, that I'm going to go out and find them a good deal. And so what I'm going to do is instead of trying to go and get a Brinks truck, I'm going to go and get the mid-level deal that brings us security and safety and reliability while the Pac figures out what the hell it's going to do. And by the way, inside of that TV deal, I'm going to add 4 more schools. And yeah, we're going to stick it to Texas and Oklahoma because when I went around to all those schools, I know that all the other schools are pissed about that and they're not happy about what Texas and Oklahoma tried to do, right? Because the reality is Texas and Oklahoma did not execute on the level that USC and UCLA executed on. Right, that much is very clear because if they did, they'd already be in the SEC. So that's why I'm saying, like, Brett Yormark is just outperforming the Pac in basically every way. And so, Glenn, San Diego State, yeah, you should want to go to the Big 12. Absolutely, you should. Right, like you want to be a part of the Big 12 when it turns into the Big 20, when it turns into a 20-team conference that has major poll and is everything you want it to be. So that's why I say, to me, This is not difficult to see. I mean, the Big 12 simply is respecting its position in college football, understanding that, hey, the Big 10 and the SEC